Tomorrow I will fill this sketchbook in its entirety. Yeah, I didn't do it. I failed. But hello. Just the other day, I tried to make a YouTube video, and it was something that I put a lot of effort into, a lot of mental strain went into this production. And it was going to be filling in a sketchbook in one day, which is a hard task I've come to figure out. I didn't succeed. I got 16 pages in. I thought it would be kinda easy, sort of. It certainly wasn't.
It is almost 9:30 in the morning. I'm at page 6. It's not the greatest ratio.
It made me think about
Failure.
how failure is able to creep into a lot of areas of our lives as creative people. That failure, I don't know, it made me feel bad just because I spent a lot of time on it. I was very precious about the idea. I kind of, scheduled this whole day for it. And then it just fell apart before my eyes, and I don't know, it was just disappointing. And I think that's how a lot of failures feel when you're a creative person, is they feel disappointing.
Going averagely, to say the least.
A lot of times when I fail, I'm just speaking creatively, I instantly try to distract myself, and that distraction is usually some other project, some sort of work. It takes my mind off the failure. It just keeps me pushing forward within the creative space. And I'm not stalling, I'm continuing. But pivoting can also help you in different ways. A good example is with these YouTube videos. I'm just kind of making them in my own time. And the very first one I made, it was an experiment. And now my process is a little bit more refined, but that first video, I was learning how I would make YouTube videos. And so I did a recording like this, sat down at my desk, I had all my footage in DaVinci and I was editing it. And the first few cracks at the editing, I was failing, and what I was editing I wasn't liking. A couple points I just quit DaVinci and moved on to something else and kind of forgot about it. But I kept returning and reopening that DaVinci file and reworking the edit. That pivot away from the initial project helped return back to it and see it with fresh eyes. I mean, this is a tale as old as time, where when you're seeing a project with fresh eyes, it makes you understand the flaws a little bit easier, but also you can see the good parts of it, and everything's a little bit clearer because you're sort of in a haze when you see something over and over and over. So coming back into it is helpful, and that pivoting can even change that failure and transition that failure into a positive. Pivoting just gives you the space to rethink things, and it's a really unconscious process. You just have to kind of distract yourself. Rejuvenating is just kind of a way to step back from, it's sort of like pivoting, but instead you're completely stepping back from creative things, kind of refilling that inspiration tank or whatever. This is just, reading, watching, just taking in stuff, thinking. It's just like a holiday and can help reignite that spark. Eventually you'll come back into that creative prospect, whatever it may be. The thing with rejuvenating is making sure you don't stay in that space for a hyper-extended amount of time, and it's in doses. I sound like I'm prescribing it, but it's more just a step back before you step 2 steps forward, or whatever metaphor. It's easy to become very cozy in that space and lose the drive, but it's if you have that passion in you, you will start to feel the creativity seeping back inside you. Ooh. Making you, want to get off your ass and continue making stuff. Like everything, it's just a balance, having a bit of both. It's having that creative work side of things, and then having that rejuvenation side of things where you're just living a healthy lifestyle. You don't obviously want to become someone who is working himself to death. That's bad. And rejuvenating really just helps you, especially after a failure. And it depends what kind of person you are, I think, whether you go for the rejuvenation or the distraction. Each one serves a person very differently. At the end of the day, everything's about perspective, I guess. Failure especially, failure builds up your tolerance for failure. Having that perspective throughout the whole thing is also very important. The whole failing process. In my case, the perspective of my YouTube video falling apart right in front of my face is that it's a YouTube video and that it's a personal project. It's not hinging on anything really, just my own emotional connections to it. Putting things in perspective can help. Most importantly, don't see whatever that creative thing that failed or fell apart was wasted. You learnt something. I learnt that I was quite slow at drawing. I was quite slow at filling up a whole sketchbook in one day, and that might not be possible for me, and that's fine. And I've recouped and I've understood that, and it makes sense to me now. Whatever fails, that process of doing it will teach you something. You will get something out of that. It all leads into something, you know? It all makes sense. At the end of the day, failing really sucks. It's lame. No one wants to fail. But it is good for you, I think. It's good to fail. And there's been times of my life where everything's been going well, and then I get too comfortable in that, and then I fail in some aspect. Another experience of mine very recently was an application I sent in for it was a really cool mentorship opportunity. It was something that I got sent through by the people who were running the mentorship, asking me to apply. And so as I applied, my expectation for it was vastly different from what I didn't know was going to happen. But if they're asking me to apply, I must be, you know, in some way, shape or form, a good fit for whatever this is. They must be giving it to me. And then I didn't get it. And so that was a very hard pill to swallow, just because of how my expectation was poised. I was in this headspace of, you know, all these positive things were happening in relation to it, and then it suddenly ends with an outcome that is negative. It doesn't add up, and that's what I think was very hard to adjust myself to. And in the fallout of this rejection, it made me kind of reflect on myself a little bit more, even though I didn't necessarily need this mentorship. It was just a fun side opportunity that would have been really cool to be a part of. I'm since now fine with it. At the moment I was a little bit bitter, and this is very, just like talking about this into an eye of a camera is quite vulnerable. And it's good to talk about it like this. It inspired me in a weird way to keep creating and keep getting better and make myself irresistible to whatever the new opportunities may arise. You know, it lit somewhat of a fire in me, and I'm like, okay, not even potentially out of spite, maybe a little bit out of spite, but not completely out of spite, just a little bit, and then a little bit of that spite plus passion, whatever. It made me work harder. But it had an outcome. It had some positive outcomes, and there's silver linings, and there's all these different weird mechanics that work within failure that actually shift you into the right path potentially. Who knows? It's very anecdotal and case by case. It happens to everyone. It's important. It keeps everyone grounded in a sense. My advice: keep failing, JK.